Hello, it's Kim here from the Emotional Alchemy Academy, and in this video I want to share some secrets that most people don't know about health and about their body. And it's so important to understand these things if you have symptoms and you're wanting to get well. So, secret number one, which you haven't been told. Your body is a self-healing machine. It has a built-in self-healing ability. And as long as you do what it needs you to do, it will heal itself. Now, in many cases we know this. For example, say you cut your finger, you probably assume that your body is going to heal that cut, and you won't worry about it too much. So we do know at a certain level that our body will heal itself. Another example is if you break your arm. Your arm is put in a cast, and that's to hold the bones in place and to help optimum healing. But what is it, or who is it, that actually heals the broken bone? Well, it's your body. It does the healing for you. So our bodies are incredibly intelligent, and they have the ability to heal ourselves. And they can also heal ourselves from a multitude of many other ailments, including chronic illnesses such as irritable bowel, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, ME, and a whole host of other symptoms which would take me hours to reel off. So the question is, if you've been dealing with a chronic long-term condition, or maybe just some ongoing symptoms like a back pain or migraines, or some sort of symptom that's not a chronic diagnosed condition but still some sort of pain or fatigue or symptom, the question is, do you trust that your body can heal itself? Because this is a question that we need to ask ourselves. And we also have to ask ourselves, do I know what it is that I need to do to allow my body to self-heal? And this is something which most people don't know how to do, which is why the symptoms persist. But the main point I want to make here is that our body is a self-healing mechanism. It is built to self-heal. It knows how to self-heal, and it will do that as long as we stop what is preventing it healing. And that is what most people don't know. So that's number one. Your body is a self-healing machine. The second thing is that every cell, tissue, and organ in the body have a dual function. They have a physical, biological function. For example, the digestive system digests food, takes in food from the mouth, assimilates it throughout the digestive system, and eliminates waste. That is a biological function. And there are millions of biological functions within our body. But most people do not know that every cell, tissue, and organ in your body has another function. It has a metaphysical function. And the word meta just means beyond. So every cell, tissue, and organ in the body have a beyond physical function, which we could say is a biological function. And really, this is more an emotional function. Now, the best way to give an example of this is to use the digestive system. Our digestive system has to take in food and water. We chew it, we swallow it, we digest it, we assimilate nutrients, and we eliminate waste. That's the biological function. But the biological function, or the metaphysical function of the digestive system, is to digest our life, to process our emotions, to digest our emotional life, which is why we say things like, I couldn't swallow that, I couldn't stomach that, that made me feel sick to my stomach, I was sick with worry. All these phrases are giveaways for what is actually really happening inside our body at a mind-body level. So our digestive system, taken as an example here, has to process our emotional life. And if we're unable to process our emotional life, then the digestive system is going to get stuck and it's going to start creating symptoms. And this is just one example of one system in the body, because every cell, tissue and organ in the body has to process our emotional life. So this is something that is not yet well known and is one of the reasons that people do not understand A, why they have symptoms, and B, why they can't get rid of their symptoms. It's because they're not processing their emotional life and they're not resolving their emotional hurts. And this is really, really important. Which brings me to the next topic, which is the fact that we are not just a physical body. If we want to heal ourselves, we have to take all levels of our being into account. And I like to say that a human is made up of 5 core areas, and I call it my SMEEP model. So SMEEP stands for spiritual, mental, emotional, energetic, and physical. SMEEP. If we want to heal ourselves, we have to address all 5 levels, because since we're made of these 5 core areas, if we're only addressing the physical, then we're missing 80%, or whatever the percentage is, of our being. So this is really important. If we want to get to the bottom of physical symptoms, we're often going to find that the cause of those physical symptoms is not to be found at a physical level. And this is why people can go and have a lot of tests in hospitals, medical tests, and of course it's really important to do that. But if we're looking for a physical reason for a cause which is not physical, then we're not going to find that reason by doing physical tests. And this trips people up so many times. Just today I was working with a lady who had had multiple blood tests for her symptoms and nothing was showing up. And when we dug deep, we of course found that the causes were at a stress emotional level. So we must address all 5 areas of this SMEEP model. Now that leads me on to the next topic, which is the fact that we don't heal illness. We heal people. And we don't heal a health condition, we heal a whole person's life. So I'll say that again. We don't heal illness, we heal a person. We don't heal a health condition, we heal a whole person's life. And there's a lovely quote here I have from Hippocrates which says it nicely. He says, "It is just as important to know what type of patient the illness has as what type of illness the patient has." Now, in my experience, most illness is set up by the age of 7. Of course, we don't know that. The illness is not exhibiting usually at that point. But the foundation for the illness, which is going to turn up later in life, is set up in those first 7 years. So we have to look at our whole life in order to understand why is it that my body is sick now. Because it won't be what happened a year ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or even 40 years ago. It will be that, but even more so, the foundation will be whatever happened in the first several years of life. And this is why, if we want to truly heal our illness, we need to look at our whole life and assess our whole life, what happened in the past, what is happening now, and then we will get the results we want. The next thing I want to mention is the fact that symptoms are not random. and they're not a mistake. The body is far too intelligent to make mistakes. It doesn't create symptoms randomly. And initially, for most people, if they get symptoms, they don't really ask themselves, why is my body sending me these symptoms? Could there be a meaning in it? Is there a meaning and a message behind the symptoms? Is there something that's happened in my life or something that I've done that has led my body to create this illness? Most people are not looking at it in this way. Of course, when we have symptoms, the first thing that we want to do is to get rid of them because they're uncomfortable. And of course that's sensible. But the thing is, there is a meaning and a message in the symptoms. And if we don't identify that meaning or that message and interpret what our body is actually telling us, then we can miss the point and not really deal with things at a fundamental level. So if we're wise, we will ask those questions and we will discover, why is it that my body, my infinitely intelligent body, is creating symptoms? And what is the message behind it? What do I need to learn? What do I need to change? What do I need to do differently? And when we do that, then the body will self-rectify and the symptoms will disappear. Now, another really interesting thing that a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't know this for many years, is that often symptoms are a sign that the body is already in a self-healing process. In other words, rather than being something wrong, they're actually something right. And even though it feels uncomfortable and unpleasant, it's the body taking itself through a natural healing cycle. So we call this the natural self-healing cycle or the stress regeneration cycle. And those symptoms, even though they're unpleasant, are the body's way of completing a self-healing cycle after a period of stress. Now, in my programs, I go into this in depth because it's so important to understand this, because then we're not looking at symptoms as a mistake, we're understanding the total picture, and we're seeing that actually the symptoms are exactly what needs to happen for the body to complete the self-healing cycle. And one of the things that in particular this will save us from is a lot of fear and worry. If we know that the symptoms are part of the natural self-healing cycle, then of course we're not going to go into fear or worry. We just need to ride out until we come out the other side into a state of health. And the last thing I want to finish on is a couple of statistics and to talk about unresolved emotional hurts. So in a 2006 report by Harvard University and the Center for Disease Control, it was found that up to 85% of illnesses were caused by emotional mismanagement. And the American Institute of Stress also found that up to 95% of illnesses were caused by stress. And in my personal experience and clinical experience working with hundreds of people over the years, I would say that these statistics are pretty true. And the one thing that a lot of people are underestimating and not even recognizing at all is the power of emotions to create symptoms. Now, it may sound crazy to say emotions create physical symptoms, but I'll explain how this happens. When we have negative, unpleasant emotions inside of us, which are triggered automatically in response to things that happen in our life, for example, upsetting events, traumas, people dying, accidents, there could be a whole host of reasons why our body generates unpleasant, uncomfortable feelings, such as anger, sadness, grief, upset, hurt, loneliness. Whenever the body generates these emotions, they are a form of energy, and the law of physics says that energy cannot be destroyed. Once energy is generated, it can't be destroyed, but it can be transformed. So, for example, water can turn into ice or steam. Now, once negative emotions are generated inside the body, they don't just disappear. Once that event has finished, if we haven't dealt with the emotions and how we felt about it, that energy will intelligently get stored in the body's cells, and it will stay there. And it will build up and build up and build up, literally in the cells at a cellular level. And eventually an overload of emotions or emotional energy starts to build up inside the body. And because fundamentally at a quantum level we are energy, literally every cell is 99% space and energy, after a while those emotions or that emotional energy will start to rewire the cells into a state of dis-ease. And that will start manifesting as symptoms. So emotions do have the power to create physical symptoms. And this is one of the biggest missing pieces in terms of people getting well. Time after time after time, I will see people posting in Facebook groups how they have physical symptoms, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, you name it. And they are primarily focusing on trying to do something physical to heal these physical symptoms. But as I already explained, the cause of the physical symptoms is not physical, it is metaphysical. And if we don't address those metaphysical issues, the body is not going to engage the self-healing abilities, and it is going to continue to create those symptoms with the messages behind the symptoms, because it is trying to get a message through, and it is wanting you to pay more attention and to change something in your life. And just another lovely little quote to share on that: illness is an invitation and an opportunity to take a look at how we are being in the world. And another one: anything that gets our attention needs our attention. So symptoms are intelligent, illness is not a mistake, your body is a self-healing mechanism, and it's your job to learn why your body is creating symptoms and to do something about it. And this can be easier than you might have thought if you have the right tools and the right strategies. And that is what I have been training in and learning and implementing for the past 30 years. And once you know how to do it, once you understand this information, you just look at it and you go, why did I never know this before? It's so common sense. It's so simple. I can't believe I didn't see it before. And so what we have to do is we have to take off these blinkers that we didn't even know we were wearing. We have to take the veil away that was covering our eyes to what was right in front of us, but we didn't see it. And it's really not that hard. You just need the right tools, the right strategies, and somebody who's been there to show you the way. So if this has piqued your interest, I invite you to take a look at my programs, because they will really help you move through whatever issues are troubling you now so that you can get back to living your life.